Hi, Rishi.
Hi, Vikas. Do we have everyone with us? And
I think you're muted, Rishi.
no, I'm.
That's what I said. Hard stop होगा.
Can you hear me now, Vikas?
Hi, Rishi. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Vikas. Can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Hi, Vikas.
I can hear you. I can hear you, Rishi, now. I think there was something wrong with my audio connection.
Do you want to check the others as well, just in case?
Absolutely. Herb, can you say something?
Joel, is Herb with you?
I think I can.
Yes, I hear you. Huh?
Yeah, great. We can also hear you, Joel. Thank you.
Joel,
Okay.
your profile name goes as Herb. Is that deliberate?
Yeah, I checked the profile of Hervé.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an issue with my computer.
Okay, so he's with you? Or...
Yeah, we are together.
Okay, great.
Vinita, can you say something? Vinita, you're on mute.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, loud and clear. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Manjula?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Manjula, we can hear you. Nice, good, welcome and good afternoon. Giselle, can we hear you?
We can hear you, Giselle.
So I just want to say I'm logged in from two devices because I'll be projecting from one of them. It's just more convenient. So I hope that's fine.
Yeah, that should be fine. I think it's just sometimes creates a volume and the speaker problem, but I think we can hear it.
I've sorted that. Yeah.
Great, great.
Because were you able to hear Giselle?
No, I wasn't able to hear Giselle.
No, Rishi, I didn't.
Have you all selected the English channel on the interpretation? I think that's the only way we will hear Giselle speaking.
Hi, I can hear now. Can hear now.
Yes, I can hear now too. I can hear now.
So,
Yes, I do hear Jason. I doing good.
So maybe Rishi, Vinita, everybody, we wait for 2 more minutes and then we can ask the room administrators. I think that Shubham and Pooja to host us on the live stream on the website, and then we can start. So like maybe 3:30. We have still 2 more minutes. I think tech seems to be sorted out and the interpretation seems to be sorted out. Fingers crossed.
We are not live right now, no, because
no, we are not live right now. I think and Harjot, if you can also just see the live chat questions.
I'll do that. Yeah. I'll take care of it. Hi, everybody. And we should stop 10 minutes in advance because my last session, they just stopped it. People were still talking and they just stopped it. So we have to be very careful. They're not going to give us any warning. They're just going to.
Harjot, we have Rishi with us on the panel, and I think we will be fine in those 8 minutes.
No, Rishi, please, we will stick, we don't want to hear what you did in Tunis, because what happens in Tunis stays in Tunis.
This is probably the issue of having you on my Facebook account.
I'm going to embarrass you at all platforms, like for all calls.
But yeah, coming back to the timing thing, because the only place I think I can manage it quite robustly is the last two segments. So if we feel that it's just 2-3 minutes, maybe I'll just throw 1-2 questions and ask everyone to make it more like a rapid fire round than
Sure.
to delve more into detail.
I'll just keep a track of the time and keep sending you messages on what's in our group in WhatsApp. So I think that should kind of like, just have a look for that. Yeah. Shubham, Pooja, are we live? Just let us know when we are starting live. Oh, I think we are right now on live streaming service.
Oh,
So I
are we
think,
live? Okay.
Because you've just made us all co-hosts as well.
yeah. I think you are co-host, right? Aren't you still co-host? Shubham, Pooja, I think that's what they would be doing. Rizwan, Shubham or Pooja, can you make all the people here co-hosts? Or maybe I can do that. Maybe I can do that.
Are we live already, or should we probably check if we're able to project? Is that a good idea?
We are live already. In case there is an issue on projection, I have your presentations with me and I can maybe then project from my end, because I was just sharing the screen and for me it was okay. Rishi, is it okay? I think it must show the thing.
You mean the co-host thing?
Yeah, the share screen option as panelists.
Share screen is already there. I was not sure if you wanted to specifically give any other functions. So
yeah, I think though that would be the only one that's going to be useful. So I think maybe we can, maybe I think I just saw Vinita checking it. So I think we are good to go, Rishi.
okay, great. So great. I will put up the opening slide only when you finish the introduction. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Rishi. Sure. So hi everyone and welcome to the session. So glad all of you have joined us today to this exciting session on social enterprise in IPPF, past, present, and the future. Our session will cover key focuses, will cover key focus on financial sustainability in relation to the enterprise efforts from IPPF perspective. It will also present the strategic focus of the Social Enterprise Hub, which is currently housed in Family Planning Association Sri Lanka, and also highlight main areas of support provided by the hub. The presentation by the SE Hub will be followed by 2 presentations, and those are also really exciting ones because they present 2 diverse contexts, one from Togo and one from India. And we're going to hear about their versions of SE models, what are the real life challenges that different SE models face, what are their mitigation strategies at the ground level. So we'll have Joel and Hart present from Togo. They'll describe their journey of the social enterprise. And in fact, they're also going to present a youth app, which is going to be very interesting. And Vinita from an organization called Viva will present her journey as a social entrepreneur and how she has helped operationalize certain SE models and what are the different challenges that she has faced during implementation and what are some of the strategies she's employed. The session will start with a presentation, like I said, from the Social Enterprise Hub. The session will be moderated by Rishikesh Tyagaraj, and Rishikesh Tyagaraj is manager at the Social Enterprise Hub Sri Lanka with IPPF. He's an accomplished professional with 19 years of financial service, internal business development, training, leadership, and project management experience. Has been working and managing the hub for the past 3.5 years. Works closely with the London office and the regional offices at IPPF and has played an active role in supporting almost 35 plus member associations of IPPF in their sustainability focus by consulting on the enterprise related plans, implementations, and other issues that they face. He's been in the forefront of leading multiple online solutions and tools, organizing capacity building workshops, and building professional relations with multiple global stakeholders to drive the earned income generation agenda. Prior to joining IPPF and the hub, Rishi was working for HSBC as an operations manager and business manager. And like I said, he will be the moderator of the session. So I will not take more time. and pass the buck to Rishi. So please go ahead, Rishi, to kickstart us and help us navigate through the world of social enterprise. The floor is all yours, Rishi.
Thank you very much, Vikas. And it's a pleasure to join the forum here, both as a presenter and my small part as a moderator as well. And like you said, we have a fairly packed agenda. So I'll probably dive straight into my slides while also connecting the dots on the whole social enterprise front at IPPF. So on the first screen, you just see some basic details about us, and I'm happy to share our contact details if anyone is interested to hear more about the program and certain other experiences. So why social enterprise, and why social enterprise particularly at IPPF or for our associations? So this is what we are trying to establish in this first few moments. It's very simple. It's a topic on its own. You can talk about this for hours. Why social enterprise, the importance, relevance, and all of that. But I'll keep it simple. For us, it's mainly because our associations who are part of IPPF, there have been funding cuts, there have been funding shortages from different sources due to different global changes. And what this does is that it leads to things like, clinics being closed, staffs being laid off, or even work being abruptly stopped. So we are so focused on the social mission, the vision, and driving our SRH programs that sometimes we don't, we take it for granted that funding will always be there. But what happens when funding stops? So social enterprise is one option which we try to drive from IPPF as a funding stream and for future or financial sustainability. So social enterprising basically at IPPF is basically this. It is a business or an enterprise that is owned by one of our member associations for the purpose of income generation. And like I said, it's about ensuring sustainability, and through that sustainability, achieving the organizational social mission. Now, what you see on the pictures here are some of the actual social enterprises that we have as a part of the IPPF fraternity. We have a pharmacy in Peru. We have social enterprise ventures that's experimented and run by FP India. We have some in Morocco and Zambia. And this is just a couple of them. As Vikas mentioned in the introduction, we have 30, 40 plus associations who are focusing on social enterprise, and where they are selling products, they are giving out services, they are running training centers. Some of them are SRH related and some are not. And the end purpose of all of this is basically to generate income or to generate a surplus/profits. And those profits, part of it is used for obviously to grow the social enterprise further, but a majority of them is used for the various community programs, social focuses, and humanitarian programs. And a lot of these are established, but a couple of them are also work in progress at a very early stage. Of course, these are just handpicked certain enterprises. There's a lot more that we can show and tell if anyone is interested. So to drive this whole focus on social enterprise, what IPPF did a few years back is establish what we now call the Social Enterprise Hub. So what does the Social Enterprise Hub do? It's basically a consultation program or an advisory program that we have established, which is located currently in FPA Sri Lanka. And we support other associations to build up and drive their social enterprise plans. So we'd like to call ourselves a capacity building center. We, of course, occasionally do give funding support, but we are not only a funding center. And at the same time, there's two of us, one of them being me and the other colleague you will hear very shortly. Plus, we work with a network of regional focal points, 6 of them to be precise. One of them is, in fact, a part of this program, and she's one of the coordinators. So they help us drive this at a regional level while we focus on our purview at a global remit. So all of what we provide is given free of charge because it's part of the membership privilege that they get as being part of IPPF. And we focus a lot on the business impact rather than the social impact, because it's a given that the social impact will follow once the business impact is established and they are stable. And we develop a lot of solutions, programs, workshops that we try to run globally, but at the same time, we do certain regional level activities as well. So there are, of course, a lot more details in the screen that you would see. So basically the left talks about what we are and the right talks about what we are not. So this is a slide I'd like to focus a little bit on. So you heard about the focus of social enterprise and the social enterprise hub. So what is it we actually do as a part of this consultation? So as I mentioned, we provide seed grants or we provide capital support. These are not majorly huge amounts, but there's something that that is given that they can use as an incubation for their research purposes or even for operational setup. So usually the call is sent out, many of them apply, and we pick what we think is the most promising proposals, and we fund them for a project that would run for a period of 8 to 12 months or more. And it's not just the funding. As an extension of the funding, we also provide interventions to build their capacities and skills to run a social enterprise. Capital is just one area. Having the knowledge, having the expertise, and the confidence to run it is a completely different area as well. So how do we do this? We give one-on-one support. Sometimes it happens to be virtual, like through Zoom meetings or other platforms. And sometimes we run it through webinars, regional forums like this perhaps. And there are also times we bring in another association who's doing a similar model to support what an association is also planning to start on the same lines. So for example, if let's say someone from Zambia is planning to run a training center, then someone from, let's say, Bangladesh has a training center on similar lines. So we would connect them both and get them to share their best practices and leverage of each of their experience. And occasionally, where timing and of course our travel budgets and everything permits, we also visit the country on ground and provide them support once we have a clearer picture on the actual on-ground activities. Another key area, the third point, is where we review all of their enterprise-related documentation, starting from their terms of references to their, whatever TORs they roll, sorry, the call for EOIs they roll out, that is expressions of interest, where they conduct market research, where they draw business plans, or even if they recruit a specific person for a role, we tend to actually review the documents. We try to get involved with the selection process if there's a person being hired. And at the same time, we also give them some course corrections if we feel the documents are not up to a standard level, pretty much like what a normal standard consultant would do. And of late, another area or a gap that we've identified is where we feel leadership and management areas also need to be strengthened, because just having the capital, just having the skills doesn't cut it. You need to have the right leadership and the people leading it and the right management functions as well supporting this. So these sort of soft skill refreshers are also something that we get involved and take part in. I also already mentioned about the on-ground visits. Also, depending on the type of the enterprise or requirements, we do certain custom training, including enterprise evaluations where required. And the next point on the free-to-use web platforms, my colleague who will speak in a few minutes will talk a lot on this, on exactly how we developed it, what's the purpose, and how it kind of fits into the picture. But these platforms are developed and given free of charge or at no cost to our member associations. And they add value because they have a lot of information, they have a lot of learning modules, best practices, and even external funding opportunities. So all of that is posted on our website, which is one of the platforms. And there's a couple of other things, as I said, my colleague will cover in a short while. And last but not least, we also have one direct income generation tool, which is an e-commerce site. Basically, it's an online store for our associations to advertise, market, and sell anything that could be products, services, or even something that's perhaps related to delivering training. And again, these are not only SRH related; they could be non-SRH products or services as well. So this is a list of all the main areas of support that we provide the associations in this journey to establish social enterprises and to strengthen themselves. Again, for viewers who have joined, this is a nutshell summary of what we do. It's not easy to summarize everything in limited time, but again, hopefully you got some idea of what we do as well. But if not, I'm happy to take a question or two during the question and answer segment as well. So because when introducing, he spoke about the fact that we have a strategic focus. So what you're seeing is something we have put together right this year. So as a program, we have functioned for about close to 4 years now, while the program is established in FPA Sri Lanka. So the first year too was a little bit of a learning experience for us, some trial and error. We also figured out what's the best way, what are the best interventions to do to support our associations. And starting from 2020, we have kind of drawn up this little map, and we kind of strengthened it further this year. So on the left side of the screen, you'd see all of the activities that we focus on. Again, some of it is what I covered in the previous slide. All of this connects to the fact that they're all supposed to support our associations in some form or shape. And then you would see that through these activities and supporting the associations on the right side, these are the outcomes that we hope to achieve. So whether it's doing the on-ground visits or supporting the various enterprises, whichever stage it is, running the online workshops or trainings, all of this feeds into finally this. It's supposed to support things like where we build on brand development, recognition for the MAs who are doing this work, and even helping with their risk management. So this is just a snapshot of how we strategically focus on our program in driving it both globally and regionally. And before I hand it over to my colleague, this is again a pictorial representation of some of the activities we have done. So as I said, knowledge forums, we are given funding support. We even look out for external funding opportunities, which we pass on to the associations. Some of them apply, some of them are successful, some of them it's just a learning experience. And a lot of technical assistance activities are done. We do global workshops, meaning again, we run it for sometimes 1-2 days, or we've run programs that sometimes 2 to 4 weeks, all again free of charge because it's a sponsored initiative from IPPF to the member associations. So similarly, you can see the other interventions I spoke about as well. And this is something that I'd like to highlight. Quite recently, we got involved with one of our regions, specifically the Arab world region, where we were particularly invited and we partnered with the Arab world team to provide training on management areas. Again, it was an experimental workshop, well received. It was an experience for us as well. And like I said, this, in addition to all the technical areas on social enterprise, we definitely have realized that supporting management areas is another key area, is another key focus as well. And with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague and speaker who will take over the next 8 to 10 minutes. I will navigate the slides. So the speaker is basically, his name is Manjula. He works with me in IPPF Social Enterprise Hub. He functions as a capacity building officer, and he supports the IPPF member associations to develop their capacities on social enterprise. Just like me, he's worked with close to 20-30 associations across the globe in developing their social enterprise models. He especially supports associations on doing market research, financial projections, and identifying potential market entries. And worth mentioning that he holds 15 years experience in the industry. And with that, Manjula, over to you. I will navigate the slides, so just give me a prompt when you need to, please.
Thanks, Rishi, and hi, everyone. So for the benefit of our member associations who have joined and the general participants, let me give you certain understanding on how you all need to start a social enterprise and what sort of activities you basically need to do in order to kick off your social enterprise idea or take your idea into a actual enterprise model. So one thing basically you need to do is you need to understand the whole concept of enterprising, and you need to know what elements are there in an enterprise model. So the business management, marketing, human resource management, risk management, so the e-commerce, so all the enterprise activities you should have an understanding idea, and then only you need to go ahead with your social enterprise. And then once you get to know about these theoretical concepts or theoretical models, maybe the business management, maybe the marketing management, financial management, and human resource management, what you basically need to do before you start a social enterprise, you need to evaluate the feasibility the feasibility of your internal organization. That means internally you need to do an assessment to see whether you are ready to go ahead with this particular idea. So if you are ready, then only you can go ahead. So you need to have the confidence to go ahead with the idea that you all have. So this could be an individual or an organization who are planning to do this activity, do this enterprise, or do this model. So once you get to know about these management aspects, what you need to do, the second step, what you need to do, you need to do a readiness assessment to see internally you all are ready to go ahead with this particular concept. Okay, so yes, you are ready and you have the confidence, you have the capacities, you have the resources with you, you are ready to go ahead. But that doesn't say your idea is still valid and still successful. What you need to do, you need to evaluate your market. You need to do a feasibility study, the market feasibility study. You need to do a market research to test your business idea. You need to test your business idea. You need to put some information back to your market, the target market, and see whether your idea is going to accept or not. Otherwise, definitely you will be ended up with a failure. So once you do the market research, the third step, so you need to develop your business plan. So this is your baseline. You are developing your business plan with action items. You need to develop a sound business plan, and then you need to discuss this business plan with your internal teams, and then you need to take actions. You need to put actions, sorry, you need to put, like, these actions into realities, and take them into the target market and start your business. And once you develop your business model, once you go on with your business, then what you need to do, you need to look at the ways of doing your business in different, and at the same time you need to evaluate different business models. These are two cases. One is you need to look at the different ways of doing your business, and at the same time you need to evaluate, look at the different business ideas, business models, to bring your whole enterprise to a sustainable and successful one. So for this, of course, what we have done from the Social Enterprise Hub to support our member association, to actually get our member associations on board for this, the whole process, what we did, we developed a set of tools for them to go ahead and study, do their readiness, check their capacities, and to develop their business plans, sell their products and services online. The first step I told you, you need to have a good understanding about the concept. For that, actually, we have developed something called a Social Enterprise Academy. So this academy website is actually full of knowledge management modules, which actually covers almost all the business management areas. This is an internal knowledge management portal we do have. Only our member associations can use it, but whoever who is interested in learning these social enterprise models or the modules, there are some free to use knowledge management systems in the globe, so you can go and register and use them. This actually we developed, and we actually give this one only for our member associations to enhance their knowledge on social enterprises. So our second tool, this is the second step that I told you. Once you understand these concepts, once you understand the basics of business management and the social enterprise, what you need to do, you need to evaluate the readiness. For that, actually, we have developed a tool called readiness assessment tool. So this tool actually has a questionnaire. There are about 48 questions we ask from our member associations to see whether they are ready to go ahead with this particular business idea or not. So again, this tool is only for our member associations, but there are freely available readiness assessment tools and the questionnaires. So whoever who is interested in doing a readiness assessment, what you need to do, you need to follow these particular questionnaires and see how how your readiness is, what is your readiness score, what are the changes you need to do in order to make yourselves ready. The next one actually I told you need to do a market research or a feasibility study. For this one, we have started developing a market research tool. Actually, we are planning to start this one uh, somewhere in mid-December, and we are planning to launch this one by mid the second quarter of 2022. This particular market research tool supports our member associations in doing market research based on the keywords that they have. So, for an example, one of our member association is wanting to have a shoe related social enterprise. So based on the region, they will be able to search what type of shoes that are available, what are the models, what would the prices, who are the competitors, and at the same time this particular system is having business intelligence where they could do certain analysis through the system. So this is after your readiness assessment, you will be able to do this particular market research through the tool, and they will be able to come to a kind of a understand, okay, the market condition is like this, so it is better to go ahead with that. And once you completed your market research, then you need to develop your business plan. So that we have developed a tool for our member associations to develop their business plans. This particular business plan comprises 8 separate areas, and there are like 6 to 7 sub areas, and at the same time there are a lot of financial calculations, projections are automatically being calculated within the tool if you have enough information to go ahead. So again, this is only for our member association, but there are a lot of freely available business plan tools you can use. This actually we have developed based on our member associations information and the need. There are certain tools you can use to develop your business plan, so that you will be able to end up with a sound business plan. And the last point I mentioned, you need to identify, you need to see the different ways of doing your business, different business models you need to identify and put into action. For this one, actually, we have identified something called online store. So this particular online store, we have actually provided the facility to have the services and the products. Why? Because our member associations are having products and services both. So the current trend with the pandemic is to do business online. For that, actually we have developed this particular custom made online store for our member association to do their business, do their enterprises in different ways, and at the same time they can adapt this particular online store to do different business models as well. So the platform is very much flexible to support for different business models as well. So for the others, of course, you all be able to get online stores in different ways. What you need to basically need to do is you need to evaluate the reliability, feasibility, flexibility of these online stores, and at the same time the security, and what type of payment gateways and supportive mechanisms the online store is supporting, and what would be the built-in block of these online stores, because there are certain weak online stores that we have seen in the market which could ended up with a disaster. So when you are evaluating certain business platforms, the online store platforms, you need to go into technical specifications and see whether this is reliable or not. So this particular online store, planet361.com, is exclusively available only for our member associations. So these are the tools and the processes and the practices we have developed, we have actually cultivated in our member associations to move ahead with social enterprise ideas. This particular enterprising journey that I mentioned before is common for each and every startup. So you need to start with a readiness assessment, gaining the knowledge for business management, and then going back to your market research feasibility study, and developing your business plan, and then looking at different business models and the ways of doing and different ways of doing your business. So that's about our recommendations and the flow of doing social enterprises. I'm happy to take any questions later. So what do you, Rashid?
Thank you, Manjula. So I think we've squeezed in what we run as a global program and as a strategy for, close to 100 plus countries, but in about 20-25 minutes. But if there's any key takeaways that we'd like you to know, that is basically that we have a program. There is an importance of focusing social enterprise. The hub is based in Sri Lanka. We run a series of activities where we give consultation, and we've developed a series of tools to support that consultation. Those would be the key takeaways. And it's my pleasure now to invite the second set of speakers, and they are from Togo. And what's interesting about these speakers is they have actually worked with us pretty much from 2018, 2019, and they have a couple of social enterprises that they are going to present as an association who's been involved. And the first speaker is, his name is Joel. Joel is a resource mobilization and communications manager at IPPF, which is basically an association in Togo. And Joel has over 15 years of experience in project management, especially related to demand generation, comprehensive sexual education of adolescents and youth, and also on resource mobilization. And also Joel believes that the sustainability of the association's social programs will require a new approach to resource mobilization. Specifically to quote, being able to better sell our expertise through a rigorous marketing approach is undoubtedly one of the keys to achieving our development objectives. This is what Joel says. She has also benefited from several trainings and experiences and visits related to social enterprise. So he will take over very shortly. So basically there are two speakers from Togo. Joel will introduce the second speaker who will speak on the youth app. And just a reminder that he is going to speak in French, but we will have interpretation. So those of you who need to pick the channel, please make sure you pick English. Over to you, Joel.
Merci Rishi, merci pour l'introduction. Je suis donc honoré de parler au nom de l'association membre du Togo et partager avec vous l'expérience qu'on a en matière d'entreprise sociale. D'abord, slide. Donc, vous allez sûrement les écrans en anglais, mais nous allons faire la présentation en français qui sera traduite. Donc, le Togo est, comme vous le savez, un petit pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Je crois qu'on va partager l'écran. Comment je vais bouger? Voilà, comme je le disais, le Togo est un pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest qui, comme tous les autres pays, a des indicateurs assez similaires. De population très jeune, nous avons moins qui sont à 40%, assez faible, avec un taux de fécondité assez élevé. Vous savez, 4,8 enfants par couple. Et qui sommes-nous réellement? L'Association togolaise pour le bien-être familial a été créée déjà en 1975. Donc, est assez connue sur l'échiquier national et travaille vraiment avec l'État togolais. Nous sommes devenus association membre de l'IPPF en 1980. Comme toutes les associations membres de l'IPPF, nous avons une vision, une mission et des valeurs qui sont vraiment ancrées sur le respect des droits en matière et de valeurs en termes de diversité, inclusion sociale et en termes de volontarisme. Nous sommes une association qui est dans tout le pays, association nationale, donc avec des antennes aussi bien à la capitale que dans toutes les autres régions du. Comment nous mobilisons les ressources avant d'arriver à l'entreprise sociale? Nous avons directement des ressources qui nous viennent de l'IPPF à hauteur de 15%, les subventions directes. Nous avons les projets restreints que nous arrivons à prendre par voie compétitive à hauteur de 47%, un recouvrement de coûts de nos cliniques à hauteur de 11%, d'autres partenaires toujours sur la voie compétitive à hauteur de 13%, et l'État, comme je disais tantôt, nous aide en nous octroyant du personnel médical et également des produits contraceptifs à hauteur de 13%. Vous voyez que vraiment notre objectif, c'est de pouvoir renforcer les entreprises sociales pour pouvoir gagner en durabilité de nos projets sociaux. Donc, c'est dans ce cadre-là que l'ATBF a eu à initier vraiment des entreprises sociales. Déjà en février, nous avons eu à lancer notre bloc opératoire à la clinique principale qui est à la capitale à Lomé. Nous avons également eu déjà en juillet 2020 à lancer notre centre d'imagerie qui également est juste à côté de notre clinique principale. Et tout dernièrement, en octobre, avec l'appui de City Grant, nous avons eu quand même à ouvrir un centre d'affaires au sein de notre programme, au sein de notre centre jeune. Voilà par exemple notre bloc opératoire qui a permis réellement de couvrir l'ensemble des gammes de services offerts à la femme enceinte, et qui lui donne maintenant l'assurance que lorsqu'elle arrive à la TBF, à la clinique principale, elle a tous les services lui permettant à la fin de partir avec son nouveau-né. Et par rapport à ça, nous avons eu le soutien venant du Bureau régional Afrique de l'IPPF, du Hub entreprise sociale, qui nous a permis de faire une étude de marché, et un investissement de 58 658 $ a été mis en place dans ce cadre-là. La seconde initiative d'entreprise sociale est le centre d'imagerie, dont nous sommes très fiers. C'est un centre qui permet aujourd'hui d'offrir à la population l'ensemble des services en termes de radiologie et pour les femmes en termes de mammographie. Pour nous, au niveau de l'ATBF dans notre clinique, ça nous permet d'offrir la continuité de service aux clients parce qu'il y a eu beaucoup de plaintes du fait que les clients, lorsqu'ils viennent chez nous, sont référés vers d'autres centres et là, n'arrivent pas à avoir les mêmes qualités en termes de service. Dans ce cadre également, une étude de faisabilité a été faite avec une étude de marché et nous avons vraiment eu à avoir l'appui du hub du Sri Lanka, du hub entreprise sociale avec Rishi et également du Bureau régional Afrique. Nous avons eu pour démarrer cette entreprise un investissement à hauteur de 412 452 $. La troisième initiative, c'est la plus récente et ça, c'est au niveau des jeunes. C'est un centre d'affaires que nous appelons Wezon, un centre qui offre des services d'Internet, de photocopie et également de formation sur les logiciels de conception aux jeunes. Comme le savons, les jeunes sont très férus en la matière et quand ils viennent au centre de jeunes, ça leur permet en même temps d'avoir ce genre de services. Et pour nous, à la TBF, c'est également une opportunité de rendre ce projet social vraiment périn. Et un investissement de 20 000 $ a été pris pour lancer cette affaire-là avec l'appui du projet CID. L'impact social que nous avons réellement à travers ces entreprises sociales, c'est que nous avons un renforcement de l'accès vraiment à une gamme diversifiée de services de santé de qualité à la population. Avec ces entreprises sociales, nous arrivons vraiment à créer l'accès, à favoriser l'accès de la population à ces services-là. Et au même moment, nous disons qu'il y aura la durabilité des services itinérants. La TBF offre des services gratuits en matière de clinique mobile et en matière de distribution à base communautaire des contraceptifs. Ces entreprises sociales, pour nous, génèrent des ressources qui nous permettent aussi d'avancer dans ce cadre-là. Et l'autre élément important, c'est vraiment le changement de comportement au niveau des jeunes et adolescents, puisque le centre d'affaires va réinvestir tous ses revenus, au moins à hauteur de 50% dans le programme Jeunes. Au-delà de ça, comment est-ce que nous faisons développer, comment est-ce que nous développons ce genre de choses? C'est réellement à travers beaucoup de communication, la visibilité de ces centres-là. Nous essayons de nous approcher des sociétés commerciales pour que nous puissions avoir les marchés de bilan de santé du personnel. Nous avons eu la chance, il y a cela 2 mois, d'avoir tout le personnel d'une compagnie de téléphonie qui sont venus faire leur bilan, et ceci a renforcé vraiment les éléments, l'approche de rentabilité du centre d'imagerie médicale. Nous, au niveau du centre d'affaires également, nous sommes proches des universités et écoles pour prendre leur marché en matière de photocopie, de copie et de formation sur les logiciels de conception. Nos défis, c'est essentiellement, vous le savez, les besoins existent, mais l'investissement est très lourd. Lorsque de la base de l'imagerie, par exemple, l'investissement est très lourd et l'accès à la rentabilité reste un peu lent. Mais pour les autres, quand on prend le centre d'affaires, par exemple, nous n'avons pas eu un investissement avant de démarrer. La promotion également reste un élément essentiel parce que souvent, les éléments de visibilité en place, alors que pour le développement, c'est un élément très, très important. Les perspectives, nous continuerons à travailler dur pour que vraiment nos initiatives en matière d'entreprise sociale puissent prospérer et explorons également d'autres créneaux pour que vraiment nous puissions avoir une entreprise plus diversifiée dans ce sens. Donc, vraiment, merci pour ce moment, ce voyage au niveau de l'entreprise sociale, au niveau de la TBF. Nous allons à présent laisser la parole à Hervé. Hervé est un jeune staff au niveau de notre association. Il est en charge du programme Jeunes et il va nous parler d'une application très, très chère aux jeunes, l'application Info Ado Jeunes. Hervé, je vais te laisser prendre.
Merci Joël. J'ai l'honneur de vous présenter l'application Info Ado Jeunes. La population togolaise, comme le disait Joël, est constituée en majorité des jeunes. On note un taux de grossesse précoce de 17,3% sur le plan national. Et 21% de ces jeunes ont accès à l'Internet. Donc, on note un fort engouement des jeunes par rapport aux nouvelles technologies. Ce qui a suscité chez la TBF, avec les jeunes du MAJ, à développer l'application Info Ado Jeunes. Une initiative des jeunes du mouvement d'action des jeunes de la TBF depuis le projet Youth Connect. On note également une implication des jeunes dans la conception et dans l'exécution de cette application Info Ado Jeunes. Quelles sont les solutions apportées par l'application? Quelles sont les solutions apportées par l'application? C'est une application mobile multifonctionnelle téléchargeable sur Google Play Store qui permet aux utilisateurs d'avoir accès aux services de suivi mensuel, de téléconsultation, c'est-à-dire qui peuvent bénéficier de la consultation par nos prestataires cliniques depuis leur localité en ligne. Il y a également les jeux de quiz à travers cette option et les jeunes peuvent également bénéficier des informations ou des conseils à travers notre ligne verte de cette application. Il y a également un système de rappel de rendez-vous, donc tout client bénéficiant de nos cliniques, des services de nos cliniques, peut recevoir un système de rappel de rendez-vous automatique. Il faut dire que c'est un outil privilégié de consultation à distance. Depuis la mise en place de cette application, on note un total de 1159 utilisateurs. Et on dira que ce n'est pas trop, mais il faut noter que c'est des bénéficiaires que nous n'aurons pas pu toucher sans cette application. C'est là que nous notons l'importance de cette application Info Ado Jeunes. Vous voyez ici une jeune bénéficiaire de services et l'ordonnance que le jeune ou le client reçoit, l'ordonnance virtuelle que le client reçoit depuis sa maison ou son lieu de situation et peut se présenter à la pharmacie pour bénéficier pour acheter ses produits. Quelles sont les leçons apprises? Les TIC ou l'application Info Ado Jeunes sont de nos jours un moyen pour toucher les jeunes en éducation sexuelle complète et en offre de services conviviaux. Et cette application est venue à point nommé. Elle a contribué à la riposte contre la COVID parce qu'avec les restrictions physiques, les jeunes ou les clients avaient peur d'aller en présentiel et cet outil est venu renforcer l'offre de services. Les jeunes manifestent un engouement à l'application Info Ado Jeunes qui facilite l'interaction des prestataires cliniques et clients jeunes à travers cette téléconsultation. Et il faut dire qu'à l'heure actuelle, nous avons reçu nous sommes en plein atelier où les AM francophones de l'IPPF sont venus apprendre de cette application afin de pouvoir répliquer cette initiative dans leurs différentes AM. Je vous remercie.
Merci donc pour les deux présentations. Nous allons redonner la parole à Rishi. Merci vraiment.
Thank you very much, Joel and Herb, and it's nice to hear some of these efforts that have actually taken place on ground. And as a bonus, like I said, you also hopefully got to hear a little bit about the SRH app, specifically focusing on the youth. Right, with that, without further ado, let's move on to the third and final speaker of the day. It's my pleasure to invite Vinitha Venkatraman, and she's a first-generation entrepreneur who embarked upon her startup journey when she was 28. This innovation-led journey was an endeavor to make the best of her leadership experience in both the corporate and government sector of the past 8 years. And she has used it to provide strategic solution for the development of India ideas specifically. As an entrepreneur, she developed solutions for organizations in public, private, and the NGO sector, enabling organizations to deepen their impact in social work and making the world a better place to live in. She also works on creating micro entrepreneurs and developing social enterprises, thereby enabling organizations and individuals to travel on the road to sustainability. With that, Vinitha, over to you. And with your permission, I think we've discussed, I may interject and maybe post a question or two just to have a slightly different flavor for this segment. So over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Rishi. Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to start actually by talking about the social part of being a social entrepreneur, because I think as a social entrepreneur, what motivates me and the team that I work with is the fact that we're able to make impact to the society. And what I'd really like to stress upon here is the fact that when we're in touch with the grassroots and when we're really sort of working very closely with communities on the field, it really enables us to stay motivated and do our work better. So the social part of being a social entrepreneur is very, very important to me as an entrepreneur. But equally important is also the entrepreneur part. And the reason I'm particularly stressing on that is because that's really what makes any social entrepreneur, social enterprise sustainable, like Manjula has already mentioned earlier. And what I really like to say here is that for us as a social enterprise, what we really try and do is use our grassroots expertise, our experience on the field of working with communities, and see how those can create a very strong value proposition where we can then offer our technical expertise as a consulting organization to various non-profits. This is actually one such initiative that we're doing with that we have done with the MA in India, where we help them develop their strategic plan for the 2016 to 22 period under the IPPF framework. And our social interest really enabled us to do this work better. This is another such initiative where we led and facilitated a workshop on resource mobilization, which was attended by India, Maldives, Bhutan, and other member associations. This is really part of some strategic consultations we have done as part of international forums. Another one that I'd like to highlight is something that we've done with young people from across the globe, young people that are associated with the International Planned Parenthood Federation, where they were invited, of course, led by FPA India, the Indian MA, where we enabled young people, where we facilitated a workshop so that we could really help them throw light on problems, FP-SRH problems that are faced by young people, which really formed the foundation of the Youth Social Venture Fund. The reason I'm sort of talking about all of this is really to say that social is the center, social is the heart, but it's very, very important to see what we can sell as value to our customers to enable a social enterprise to happen. And that really brings me to what is really the foundation of any social enterprise, right? For a social entrepreneur, it's what I exactly told you. It's about having a social motive, but really being able to run it as an enterprise. If you look at another group, which are self-help groups, right? I'm talking about women collectives, self-help groups are there not only in India, but multiple developing markets as well. Their motto is really income generation, right? Their motto is really how do we create these micro enterprises that helps us generate income for our family, whether they're saving, whether they're collecting and collecting money, whether they're giving loans or taking loans, etc. It's all towards making that income generating activity work. And that's what makes self-help groups successful social entrepreneurs or micro entrepreneurs. Now, when it comes to non-profits, I think the situation is a little different, because for non-profits, the motive is social impact. And that's how it should be. No argument on that. That's how it should be. But when non-profits try and run social enterprises, it's really about how they can adopt the DNA of revenue generation positively and openly, that really makes for a successful social enterprise. So what I really want to leave you with through this slide is, it's the DNA of an organization, and the motive with which they function is really very is key to the success of any social enterprise, because we need to be able to think revenue, we need to be able to think profit. And that's really been my experience in working with nonprofits across India, and helping them really set up social enterprises, make them successful. A lot of the strategies, etc., were very similar to what Rishi, you and Manjula spoke of, but I think it's really the DNA and the motive, and I wanted to stress upon that. Now, really coming to how do you create a thriving ecosystem for a social enterprise, right? The first, I think, is organizational culture. Now, the reason I speak about organization culture is because if we are not, as a non-profit, comfortable with the word profit, comfortable with the word revenue, then it's going to be difficult. So what we've also seen over time, not just with the Indian MA, but with other nonprofits that we've worked with and helped them set social enterprises, is the moment they adopt the word profit and revenue. The moment that word profit and revenue becomes synonymous with sustainability and social impact, that's when we sort of see that things transform, the culture transforms completely. So that's huge. I think the second piece is, of course, leadership, because when one is running a non-profit with social impact as the ultimate motive, and you want to bring in social enterprises, etc., it's the commitment of the leader that matters. It's about how invested the leader is in not looking at social enterprise as a project, but really an organizational initiative, right? It needs to be part of the strategic plan, but not viewed as a one-off project. And I'd just like to share an experience with the MA in India. We've been working with them for a long time, since 2015, actually, so 6 years. And one thing that we always hear from the CEO of the Indian MA is, like, we ask these questions because as a consulting organization, we need to know, right? What is it that keeps the CEO of my client organization awake at night? And the answer that we've continually got is, I want to see this MA sustainable. I want to see the various branches being completely self-sustainable, understanding how they can manage their own resources to be able to not just create social impact, but function on their own monetarily as well. So I think leadership commitment is hugely important as systemic support. So any nonprofit or any for-profit organization, for that matter, we work with multiple hierarchies, right? We have different cross-functional teams. We have so many focus areas. So how do we bring in people across the hierarchies, people from across teams to work together? There are approving authorities and so on and so forth. How do you bring them to work together to really have the mindset of a for-profit within a non-profit? When I say that, what I really mean is, how do you bring about the concept of generating revenue and yet being able to understand that this revenue is being deployed for social causes? So systemic support is hugely important. And of course, it goes without saying, impeccable implementation. The moment of truth, based on our experience, is when the rubber meets the road. We may have multiple consultations with organizations. We work very closely in creating social enterprise business plans and so on and so forth. But it's really about saying, okay, when I put my machinery, my people, my processes on the field to run that social enterprise, does it work or does it not? And how am I able to really review those gaps on a periodic basis and ensure that we're able to do it justice? So, yeah.
Vinita, if I could just interject and ask you, so you talked about 4 of these factors. Which would you pick is the most important one, if there is such a point? And also, is there an instance where you actually have brought all of these together and probably it's led to some success? Maybe a quick answer.
Sure. So I'd like to share an experience with actually a for-profit organization. So this is a large pharma giant that we've had an opportunity to work with for the last 5-6 years again. And they have a social business. And the goal of the social business is to provide healthcare access to rural markets, right? So with them, it's all of this that comes together. So you have like the organizational culture that's in place, whether it is the sales team, whether it is the community mobilization team, the outreach team, the people who provide the health services, all of them come together with one single goal. And the goal is two-pronged. One is to provide healthcare access, and 2 is to ensure that they're able to make profits and revenue and then profits. Of course, it's led by a phenomenal gentleman. So leadership, of course, and systemic support, and the implementation is impeccable. So it all comes together. And I think the advantage there, of course, is the fact that they come from a for-profit parent organization, because it's a pharma giant, but it's a great learning. It's a great case study to go back to, I'd say.
Super. Thanks. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I think now it's really about, let's look at a few social enterprises from India. Of course, I am bringing in the Indian context here, but what I'd like to say is that a lot of what I'm going to be speaking about is applicable to any and every country that works in the developing world. And the perspective that it's not case studies, it's not going to be long, but what I really want to say is that I'm going to talk about a few cases where we identified existing strengths within organizations, especially our Indian MA, and how can we capitalize on those strengths to really create business entities. So this one is really about the diversification of the clinical service delivery. Our MAs, as we are aware, I mean, all our MAs as part of the IPPF, the federation, are they're experts in clinical service delivery, right? So the strength here is they have quality clinical SRH services, multiple decades of expertise, and a big name in the FP-SRH service delivery space. So here, what we really tried to do, and some of the branches as part of the MA were doing it already because it came naturally to them, but we tried to really make it a strong business model where the idea was how can we position and sell the existing FP-SRH services to a different target audience. So how can we diversify, right? To affluent customers for whom a higher price will be affordable. So here the key takeaways are diversification. So I have a product, I understand my product really well. I don't have to learn anything about the product. It comes to me naturally. But can I diversify? Can I go to a new and a separate target audience who has the ability and the willingness to pay a higher price? And of course, it's capitalizing on an existing area of expertise. The second case really is about upgrading laboratory services. This is again an MA example in India. The strength here was what they saw is they multiple branches had multiple people thronging footfalls in their health clinics, right? Because they are, in terms of FP-SRH, they are the most well-known service delivery clinic in that particular geography. But what used to happen is whenever for any service they need to do any laboratory tests, they would have to be referred out. So this got identified as an opportunity, and the business idea here was how can we really buy those lab equipments and ensure that FPAI or that particular branch within that particular MA can be a one-stop solution provider. So they seized on the opportunity, and the value proposition or the USP became that we are a one-stop service provider, not just for FP-SRH services, but for lab services as well, capitalizing on the existing footfalls. So this is something that that they did. What's interesting here also is the fact that there's an in-depth understanding of the business again. So you're in FP-SRH, you understand lab services. There's no, the energy that is spent in learning something new was not there. So that was quite advantageous. This is a third example, which is really related to the manufacture, sale, and distribution of sanitary napkins. So here, in terms of strength, I think what was looked upon is that as an MA, the outreach is huge. We're talking about reaching about, I think, 1.5 crore plus women annually. So we said here is a ready target audience. Obviously, sanitary napkins is a product that everybody needs. So how can we really use our grassroots connections? Because there is an association with the frontline workers, the community-based organizations, link workers, community-based distributors, and so on. So there is a strong link in terms of association with the field. So how do we use that and really get to mass sale and distribution? Of course, there were challenges. Naturally, there were some successes, there were some challenges, etc. But yes, this was the strength based on which the business idea was based on. And last but not the least, here is another example where we say, right, the initial investment is very low. So the idea here was how do we capitalize on the strength of every single, any organization that works in FP-SRH under the IPP Federation, how can you capitalize on the strength of being a technical expertise in abortion procedures and other FP services, right? So what essentially this particular branch under the MA did is to really offer courses, training courses to young people, to youth, to medical graduates on abortion procedures and bedside assistant. For this, what essentially happened is obviously they charged a fee for joining the course. What I believe is this is a huge opportunity because the investment is very low. So there is no initial investment in that sense. Of course, the existing expertise is there, and it's easy because we already work with young people. There is a network out there. Customer acquisition becomes very easy. So these are a few examples. I just jump right into the on-ground realities and challenges as well. But of course, I want to mention here that these on-ground realities and challenges are not just related to the enterprises that I just showed you, but across. So beyond this, I've particularly kept this towards, health and social enterprises related to service delivery and things like that. But these realities apply across the board. One, of course, is decentralized operations, right? Generally, what happens is any non-profit or any for-profit, it really doesn't matter the nature of the organization, the strategy gets created at the HQ or the headquarters, and then it has to be sort of implemented across branches. Like the pharma giant I was talking about, they are present in 9 states and they operate their social enterprise across 9 states. Now, how do you ensure that these decentralized operations are run par excellence? How do you ensure there's operational efficiency across these 9 branches when the leadership is clear, the leadership has the strategy in place? But and I don't think it's only training. We're all experts in training and we understand capacity building as a very important component of all of this. But what is it that's beyond that that really makes it click is something that we're continually discovering and learning. I think resource allocation is huge because we're talking about money, manpower, machine. It's referred to as the 3 M's. It's really about saying, where if I have like $1 million, where do I put it to ensure that it gives me the maximum mileage in my business? And if we're all able to think like that, I think it goes a long way. Of course, the same for manpower. If I have these people, how do I allocate? What is the kind of manpower I require for this particular enterprise? What is it that I need that will make this particular enterprise tick? This is huge because we've seen a lot of learnings and challenges based on this in the past. So that's very important. And machine, so for a consulting service like ours, the machine is the brain because we're a service oriented industry, but of course, machines in many other cases as well. I think competition and pricing also plays a very important role because for us, competition, of course, we all understand there are products, other products in the market. So it's really about saying, how am I going to rise above that? What's my unique selling proposition as a non-profit when I'm selling a particular product or a service? Equally important is pricing, because in most cases, when we're looking at a social enterprise, I'm not saying in all, but in most cases, our beneficiary is our customer. And if our beneficiary is our customer, then the beneficiary is usually at the bottom of the pyramid, is usually somebody who may not have the ability and willingness to spend too much. So how do you really create price points in a way that it appeals to that customer is a question that we need to answer. The non-profit mindset is something I've spoken about this. It's really about, am I comfortable with the word profit? And how can I use profit as a synonym to sustainability? Very important. And last but not the least, I think, because we're talking about nonprofits and social enterprises, something key to take away is that nonprofits are usually given grants, right? So we write a proposal, we apply for a grant, we get money. Now we need to, as per that budget and as per that proposal, we undertake activities to achieve certain outputs and certain outcomes. But in our minds, we have a spending target. Now, because we have a spending target and because that's our mindset, it's important for us to shift into the saving target to be able to function as a social enterprise. Because in a social enterprise, it's really about saying that if I have $100, I need to see if I can save 90 out of that and spend only 10. Well, that's when I've achieved profit. So that's huge. So I think we need to be very cognizant of that. Are you able to hear me, Rishi?
We can hear you. There is some echo that's coming though.
I don't think it's mine. Yeah.
It's okay now.
It's better now. Yeah.
So yeah, Rishi, it's really the spending and saving mindset, like I was saying. So
on this, the resource allocation, with a real quick. So you spoke about the 3 M's. Again, is there any example of where this has come together in an effective way?
So I think for this, I'll probably talk about my own personal experience of running a social enterprise ourselves. For us, I think every time we're continually, so if we have a team, we're continually thinking of where is it that the team should be deployed so that we are able to really generate the maximum value for our client and therefore the maximum revenue for ourselves. If we receive an investment from somebody who's investing in our organization, it's about saying, okay, if I have this X dollar investment, where am I going to spend that X dollar so that it's going to give me the maximum return in the present and in the future? And of course, in terms of machine, because I tell you that it's our brain and our mind that's really generating revenue for us here, because we're a consulting organization. It's really about saying, how are we continually upgrading ourselves? How are we continually, in our context, it's really about technical knowledge, really having that right kind of exposure so that we're able to add more value to client projects and things like that. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
I want to conclude with just a couple of slides, actually. This is a very interesting initiative and very close to all our hearts at the consulting organization that I am the founder of, as well as, of course, the MA. This is the Mumbai Marathon. Now, this is a fundraising initiative, but I think it's very important to highlight the fact that this has been run like a true social enterprise for the last 3 to 5 years, 5 years now. 2017, it was the first marathon that FPI ran. The reason I say that is FPI very successfully built an asset. They very successfully grew that asset year on year. They understood how to deploy resources. They understood exactly how to sell a cause, because selling is a very important part of any social enterprise. They understood how to sell a cause, and whether it is the CEO of the organization or the person who serves tea in the organization, I've seen each one of them really talking so passionately about the cause that we would really promote every year, market every year, and raise funds. So this is something I thought should be a definite highlight. I'd like to conclude by saying that this entire sustainability piece started sometime early last year, I think 2020. And there are a few words that I remember the MA in India, the leadership there, Dr. Apte, who's the CEO, she said, and it stays with me even today, is number one, I think the sustainability mantra is about surviving and thriving no matter what. And it's also about in a place like India, which is so vast, where local contexts differ from state to state and from region to region. It's really about finding local solutions, because that's when it's going to work. But how can one support it nationally? And of course, it's not a change in ideology, and I'm sure this is targeted, or the audience for this is nonprofits. It's not about the ideology at all. It's really about, we're still social impact. We're still, social is still key to us, but it's really about a change in perspective where we're able to think about revenue. So yeah, thank you so much, Rishi. Happy to take questions if any.
Thank you, Vinita. I probably have many questions I can ask, but I think we should give the opportunity to perhaps some of the viewers and attendees. And in case we don't have questions, I can come back to you, Joel, and even Manjula. So maybe Vikas, you would like to tell us if there are any questions or anything that we can clarify further. And I'd like to ask, yeah.
Rishi, why don't you go ahead and ask the question to Joel? I think it would be interesting to hear Joel's perspective on it. And if we have time, there are a couple of questions in the stream, and I can then put it if we have time. But please go ahead and ask your question to Manjula and Joel both.
Great. So my request is, we probably have about 9-10 minutes. I'd like all the speakers to come on, unmute yourself. The question is not just for one person. I'd like to get your inputs. Let's keep the answers brief. So just a quick viewpoint, 1-2 sentences. And again, if any viewers need support, this is going to be also in French to English when our Togo colleagues speak. So my first question, very quickly. So I spoke about it. Why do you think actually social enterprise is important in the current context? Maybe we'll start with Manjula and then go on to the others. Maybe you have a different perspective on why social enterprise is important.
When it comes to current context, Rishi, of course, there are a lot of business opportunities are there in the global market. And these business opportunities are directly related to some sort of a social issue, some sort of a social problem. So when we consider in the ethical businesses, ethical enterprises, what we need to do, we need to contribute something back to our society. So that is how we could, develop kind of a good socio-economic culture, global socio-economic culture. For that, of course, we need to identify these business opportunities with the social responsibilities. So if an entrepreneur can brainstorm their mindset to support the community or the society with a business idea, so that would be the ideal way to do businesses or the enterprises in current context.
So you're saying social enterprises should be embedded in all businesses.
Of course, yes, not the simple CSR activities, but they need to focus on social impacts. Well,
Right, interesting. Okay, Joel, your answer. Why is social enterprise important?
Je pense que l'entreprise sociale est très, très importante parce que en tant qu'association membre, nous avons des expertises qui sont très fortes. Et ces expertises en matière de santé ne vont pas seulement à un segment de clients ou de la population. La population est très bien segmentée et parmi ces segments, il y a des personnes qui peuvent payer le prix normal, le prix idéal. Et dans ce cadre, on doit pouvoir orienter vers eux vraiment cette initiative sociale de telle sorte que les éléments générés ou les ressources générées de ces segments-là puissent aider vraiment à financer nos projets sociaux à l'endroit de ces populations-là qui n'ont pas de ressources pour payer nos services. Donc, c'est extrêmement important pour qu'on puisse vraiment investir dans nos entreprises sociales afin de générer des ressources pour rendre durables nos projets sociaux.
Super. Thank you, Joel. So it's about community impact for you. Great. Vinita, I know you spoke about it, but in a nutshell, why social enterprise?
Well, I think for me, personally, I think for me, when I sort of transitioned, I used to work for the private sector. So when I transitioned to working for social impact, which was more by chance than anything else, I realized, personally, it's a lot of fulfillment. But even beyond that, if I think people like us who have the power of education, the power of literacy, the power of being able to think effectively, and so on, if we're able to empower those that do not have the means to do so because of lack of education or whatever else, I think it's something that goes a long way in overall meeting the SDGs or creating more impact or whatever we want to call it.
Okay.
Little drops in the ocean, but goes a long way.
And this is going to sound a little stereotypical, me asking this question, but I'm going to ask it nevertheless because I'd like to hear your point of view. So your take on women engagement in entrepreneurship and leadership roles?
To be honest, I think it's the same. I don't in my mind, the way I see it, I think man or woman, as long as it's really about the skill set, it's really about the ability, it's really about the technical expertise, the knowledge, the background, the education, and whatever they come with. So obviously it goes without saying that there should be no inequality. I think that goes without saying. Spending time on that itself, it goes without saying. But more importantly, I think it's really about the ability. Like I have seen so many women leaders function so effectively, whether it is Dr. Apte of the Indian MA. There are so many women IAS officers in India that I've been so inspired by, who've been role models. I think it goes without saying that women are smart, but so are men. So it's really about ability.
Great and smart answer. So probably Manjula, back to you. What qualities, and I'm expecting just 1 or 2 word answers, should an entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur ideally have? What qualities or skills?
One main quality that a social entrepreneur should have is the analytical skills or the analytical mindset, Rishi. Why? Because they need to analyze the business environment, and at the same time they need to analyze the social issues and how they could give something back to the society, how they could develop the social impact to their business. So one is actually the analytical skills that they need to pursue, and at the same time the trustworthy and empathy. Why? Because we are dealing with the society, we are dealing with the human beings feelings and their motives and their culture. So there's empathy and especially honesty they should have. This is not just a profit making business that we are doing. So these two definitely they should have.
Got it. Okay. Joel, what is most important to you for a social entrepreneur?
Merci Rishi. Je crois que Manjula en a un peu parlé, mais je toucherai du doigt l'élément méthodique. L'entrepreneur social doit être très méthodique dans sa démarche. Il doit être un bon gestionnaire, il doit être innovant et en gros, je dirais qu'il doit être un bon leader. Il doit être un bon leader dans sa communauté. Merci.
Great. It's one of my favorite points, methodical. Thanks. Vinita, probably the last and the same question to you.
So I think if I have to force rank one point, it would be the innate ability to understand the need of any audience that you're working for. Because like I said, entrepreneurship revenue is obvious. One has to aim towards that. Social impact is obvious, but if one wants to be successful, it's really about having a very deep understanding of the need of the audience that you're catering to. If we're able to get that right, if we're able to use, like Manjula said, empathy and able to use sensitivity to understand that, then we're going to be able to create successful enterprise.
Great. Thank you. I wish we could take more questions, but we probably just hit the clock. So on behalf of all the speakers, a big thank you to the viewers, participants who joined us. Thanks to the interpreters and thanks to the SARO team for having us today. Back to you, Vikas, for any closing formalities.
No formalities. Just a big thank you to all of you. I think it's been a very exciting session. I think when we started, Rishi, I remember me telling you about that this is going to be a big learning exercise for me on social enterprise, and I think I would like to say it's been like a big yes to that. It's you've all of you have given us examples that you've had, the implementation challenges and how it is not that easy as it sounds like. But I think the bigger mantra that I'm carrying, and I think it has been a part of all your presentations, is a focus on sustainability and like, a culture of thinking around social impacts and social enterprise. It's very easier said than done, but I'm sure you would, like, if we had more time, we would have discussed a little bit more about how difficult that journeys are and how how fulfilling that journey is. So I think with that, I would just like to close the session, and a big round of thanks to all the participants who've taken time off to attend this session. I'm sorry we've not been able, there are a few questions that I can see which we've not been able to field, but please feel free to write to us at SARO Forums 2021 at IPPF.org or scribble on the wall at the website. And we promise that we will take these questions to all the participants in the session today and hopefully be able to either answer or at least get back to you or connect you with them. With that, again, thanks a lot, and yeah, bye and have a nice day. Please do not forget to log in tomorrow for some few other sessions in the regional forum. I think there are exciting ones around how the COVID has disrupted some of the service delivery and how people have adapted to that. Then there's a session around apparel and textile workers in India and Sri Lanka and how the member associations have been working with them in presenting, in doing this service delivery, how the adaptations with that. And last but not the least, one of my work and exciting sessions that comes in tomorrow is how do we engage young men and boys in SRH delivery. I think that's an exciting set of speakers again, and hope that all of you can join in for some of the sessions tomorrow. Thanks again and have a nice day. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you all.